There was a world in our language that didn't exist a decades ago, and that word essentially appeared um, out of a need a need for justice, and because what happened to the Congolese people, and what is still happening to the Congolese people, was never just violence. It was extraction. It was profit. And because of that violence, because of that extraction, because of that profit, the word Genocost was created. 6 million dead and counting, so that the rest of the world could have the minerals in our phone, in our car, in the missiles casting essentially of whatever war is trending that week or that particular month. So today I am doing this episode dedicated to Genocost. I know that we are August 1st and we commemorate August 2nd, but August 2nd, I promise, is going to be busy and we are all going to be busy. But I thought it was important for Congo Unfiltered to still provide you with the first account of what's going on. So in the first half, I'm sitting down with two wonderful women who are knowledgeable on this issue, and they are not. I don't think it's not the first time that they are coming on Congo Unfiltered. Um, I'm sitting down with people who didn't just talk about this campaign; they built it. I'm on Mimie Wite-Nkate, who is one of the co-founders of the Congolese Action Youth Platform. She is one of the people who was in the room in 2013 when Genocost was still an idea that nobody wanted to say out loud. And then Dr. Debora Kayembe, who is the second guest for this episode, is a human rights lawyer, 54 Lord Rector of the University of Edinburgh. She is the first person that ever named Genocost Ambassador because we believe that that person was suited to carry the voices of recognizing Genocost. And she is now stepping into that role again for 2026. So in the second half, they leave and it's just me. And y'all know I love to talk because there is a conversation happening inside our own political spectrum, I will say, the Congolese politics, that I don't think enough of us are willing to have out loud. It is about the Congolese government. It is about FUNAEV. It is about the international solidarity. It is about the relationship that we have with countries that have, I would say, interesting relationship with the thing that we're trying to recognize when we're talking about genocide, when we talk about Genocost. It is about who actually benefits from recognition. And it's about also a contradiction so glaring that I don't think, or I don't understand how it hasn't blown up our government yet. How do you maintain a relationship with a country that is standing accused for genocide? How can you reconcile those? So we are going there, all the way there. But let's get into it. I want to bring my guests, two of them, right now. Yes, I can't. There you go. Hello, hello, hello. How y'all doing?
Hello, hello. We're doing
Happy
fine,
Saturday. I
thank you.
know over there it's nighttime already.
Mhm.
Um, but happy. I hope you had a happy Saturday. My own Mimi, you on mute. So FYI.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yeah.
Mhm,
How y'all
mhm.
doing? How you guys doing?
Fine, thank you very much. Thank you for having us this evening.
Absolutely. And it's an honor to be here. Thank you for giving us the time to speak to the masses. Mhm.
Yes. So it's a really interesting not interesting but busy, I would say, weekend. And I know there was like plenty of activities that Congolese Action Platform, and even yourself, Dr. Kayembe, had have planned. So I want to really this interview to help the audience understand the person, one that you are, but also, and I think it's very important, the values that you stand for. So I want to say thank you both for being here. So especially on a day like this, and before uh we get into anything else, I want people to also like kind of like understand uh the women that we have, that I have the honor to host. So I'm gonna start with Mama Mimie.
Mhm.
You were there in 2013, as I mentioned in my introduction. So can
Mhm.
you tell us uh, what that room actually looked like? What were you fighting to even get people to say the word Genocost?
Hmm. Again, thank you. It's always great to share to motivate others. It's a must to advocate for Congo. The fight, I think my motivation begins in 2001 when the Rwandan president arrives and my father is in town, and he questions my lack of presence where we ought to be speaking out against the violation that's been happening in Eastern Congo. Like you said, my name is Mimie Wite-Nkate. My parents, my origins are that of South Kivu, deep in the South Kivu of Shabunda, Bakisi. You know, I am now. I'm so proud that I had the opportunity to go there as a teen, like as a little girl, 6, 8, 7, when all other children were coming to Europe or South Africa. My dad, who was a diplomat then, would send us to the village via Kindu. I will cry, but today it's a place of my roots that calls on me to stand for Congo. So 2001 he came, he said, "Where are the Congolese? Where are you?" But then for me, I did not stand up then. We began finding ourselves. I grew up in London. Came from it's over 30 years I've been in London and studying here, and losing a sense of being identity, hiding, shying away from even hearing the word Lingala being spoken in public. So when I became mature enough to attend university and to sit through classes where they say the matter of the Congo is very complex, it breeds in you a sense of fighting, to stand up. There's a shame, there's all this motion, there's a shame, there's this sense of they're talking about me, it's me. So that fuels the fight. I was a member of CAYP the Congo. So I've been very active here in London from my teen to my mid-20s. So you're very active. You're looking for a place to advocate and to give back to the community. So in 2011, I was a member of Friends of CAYP the Congo with my friends, my sisters, Natasha Makengo, Renes, Henny, and Vava Tampa. And we were active, we were lobbying, we were marching. I salute also the Voice of Congo Francos, and there were many of us. In 2011, elections happening in Kinshasa. It was Fachi Tshisekedi, the father, and versus Kabila then, and the election was stolen right under him. That was, being that we were the children of combattants, the daughters of combattantes, and we had the Marie-Claire Farai and in London, and so many Maman, Victoria, and I think so many mothers who walked. He saw us. It was a must for us their children, younger people, to also go to the street after the election was stolen. That was in 2011, but after that protest, it's also in YouTube. You can look for protests in London, young people. There's so many footages. It was chaotic. Some of us were arrested. We met after that march, we met every week. Physically, we'll find, so it was a collective of activists, individuals who decided we will meet to find a way to save Congo, to find a way to speak for Congo, to speak. Yes, we're in a foreign country where English was speaking, and we have our links to Belgium, but we needed to make people understand what was happening. So 2 years down the line, after meeting every week, we met physically, we met on Skype every week. GENOCOST was born. The room, how do we define us? How do we define what's happening back home? We knew it wasn't a black and black killing one another. We knew we needed to define and not wait to be told, as they've been telling us, you are killing one another. On mainstream media, you switch on the news, there's another crisis, there's another crisis. Oh, it's just the Africans killing one another, and which was so untrue. We knew that it was a continuation of what has been happening since colonial time. It was a continuation of looting the Congo, because we understood, specifically, we were children of the combattants, bien évidemment. We understood Congo was just a pie. It was just a pizza for international community, for international companies, and we salute the Friends of the Congo. We salute even our friends, our peers on the ground who were also fighting for Congo, and that gave us fuel. We had to define it. We were young, we were angry, we were ready to speak out, we were ready to tell our own story from the calling that Lumumba always wanted, so wanted. We understood the message as the young people speak nowadays. We understood, and we coined it, GENOCOST. GENOCOST, a combination of two words, genocide and cost. The cost, the economic cost, the genocide, economic gain.
We will get into the definition later. We will get
Okay.
into the
I
definition.
hope I answered it, but it
Yes.
we were yearning to stand up, and we did. The Makola, there were so many of us, so many people who spoke then, and I was in the background, but we did the work.
Yeah. Thank you. And Dr. Kayembe, if I may ask, when before I even trying to understand or have the audience understand the feeling, but how did you first encounter? How was your exposure to that term or that framework as a lawyer yourself? How did you understand? How was your exposure to the word, and what was your understanding of it?
Well, I have to say, the year 2021 was the year that Mimie and Mama Cam from CAYP France came to me to ask me to step in that movement. But CAYP existed then, way before me. But 2 years earlier, during the pandemic, where we're all in the house, spending more time on social media, we couldn't go out. This is where I discovered CAYP and the idea of the Genocost. And I thought myself, why Genocost? And I understood that this youth from London, they came with this new idea of calling war is a genocide, really, but on the mark of Genocost.
Mm-hmm.
And my specialty is international law. So the humanitarian law and the Convention of Geneva, the recognition of genocide is my specialty. But before I make a decision to join them, I went on a quest of asking, is this gonna survive Genocost? Or this is just gonna disappear because it's something new? And I think about the biggest, I'm not saying it's the biggest genocide in history, but the most non-genocide in history is the Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Holocaust is the way to describe a genocide? No, it came from the context in which the Jewish went through the process of being killed massively. And I said to myself, oh yeah, I think the Congolese is right to say the killing that happened in their land can be defined as a Genocost. The cost of the world becoming a mighty power, not the Congo, the rest of the world. As you mentioned at the beginning, the laptop, the electrical cars, the uranium for Apollo 11, all this, those killing came around. And I said, rightfully, as the Genocost. The Genocost is the right name. But how are we going to back that? How are we going to accept that? Me, Debora Kayembe, I'm an innovation person. I like innovation. Born in DRC with the name Kayembe. Today, you go to the Encyclopedia of Scotland, you find the name Debora Kayembe. I bring things that doesn't exist to existence. So the Genocost will exist if today we are maybe in this room, 6 of us, 10, 20 years, it will recognize a bit as the Genocost for the way it has been handled to the rest of the world.
Nice, and I thank you so much for that. And then, so now 2021, that was your first exposure, and then in 2024, essentially, and now 2026, you were named to be the ambassador of GENOCOST, the GENOCOST Ambassador. I really want to know.
The second time around, by the way.
Excuse me?
For the second time around.
Yeah, that's what I said. 2024 and now 2026. So what actually changes when someone take on that title? And I know from your resume that I read that you had so many, but that was something particular. And what actually changes when someone takes on title, especially when it carries so much weight? What can you do with that? I would say that the campaign couldn't. What could you do with it that a campaign couldn't do without you?
By themselves. Okay.
Yes.
First, let's say this. 2024 is my last year as the Lord Rector of the University of Edinburgh. That's the year that followed the year that I made history around the world, becoming the first Black person to stand on a university, which is white-dominated university. So the reputation, the integrity, and the brand that comes around me is very heavy. And as some of you may know, I had my own problems as an individual, as the rector, who challenge, who break the glasses. And I have my own challenge. So that year when CAYP came to me, wanted me to become a patron, I said, yes, I would like very much. And I took it. But while we are going together and advancing what we were doing, I said to myself, I may just hurt these people because of who I am right now, because of the wind that was blowing at my life at that time. So that's why when I took on the first year as patron, at the end of that celebration, I said, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to give them the time to breathe, and I'm going to give myself the time to see how good I achieved, how good I was for CAYP on the year 2024. The year 2025, I told CAYP, listen, I am with you. I am with you. I'll come whatever you like, but I don't want to be again nominated. But CAYP, I thought they found somebody far better than me. And then they keep saying, Mama Debora, come back. And I'm back again this time around. But I think this time I am much more well settled, more available to the cause. But I want to make something very clear here. CAYP is an independent organization that runs with its members. I am the patron of the GENOCOST, the idea, the cause, and for which I supposed to bring the flame to the world. And for that, I have to use it and work with my knowledge, my integrity, my availability, and my image. You see how heavy this is. So there is a cause that I have to carry, perhaps for the rest of my life. I don't know. That depends on CAYP. And I have to make sure that cause is always on the top of the agenda in the world, and people are still thinking about the Congolese people by that name. Did we achieve something since 2024 until now? I would say yes, because in 2025, Tshisekedi, the Congolese president, mentioned the GENOCOST at the UN. It was the first time he said that. So if as a patron, I have 100% of things to do, I would say I've achieved 0.5%. So I still have 99.5 99.95% to do with CAYP.
Yeah.
But I'm proud of the 0.5% I have achieved so far.
Yes, yes, I like how you said that you still have 99.5 to do,
Yeah.
and I want to go back to my mom Mimie, if you
Mm,
can kind of like guide us through the definition of Genocost,
mhm,
and also the importance of this symbolism, I guess, in the
mhm,
word,
mhm.
the word, no, not in the word, but in the logo that you used.
Yeah.
The logo that I saw were GENOCOST. Like I said before, GENOCOST is an initiative, of course, coined in 2013, like we in introduction, to define what all the atrocious killing and impunity that's been happening in Congo. It's a combination of two words, so genocide and cost. So the economic gains, the genocide for economic gains. And we dedicated the 2nd of August, 1998 as the date where one, it's not to bring people together to commemorate, it's a remembrance day, but also specifically because the 2nd of August 1998 is declared or is known to be the second war in Africa. But like I said, there was a spillover in 1996. There was a war in, what we know of the Rwandan genocide. There was a spillover into Congo, and then we can go further back into the history of King Leopold with the Kabuchu and so forth. So there's a need. The Genocost defined exactly what's been happening in our country for hundreds of years. With the 2nd of August, it's not just, we come together, we commemorate. The 2nd of August, which is Genocost Day, is not just to also light a candle, but it's to further amplify, to further educate, to further speak over history, so the younger generation know and to remember. It's a commemoration day. And it's really quite simple, but yet profound. Back home today, the 1st of August is the day where back home the elders, those who have lost their parents, go to the cemetery and to
Yeah.
remember them. So similarly, we needed to choose that day because officially the mapping report highlight this very date that spoke of what began, and then there was a spillover, but it began on the 2nd of August 1998 all the way through. Officially, it says the war ended in 2003, but today we know very well part of the Congo is still occupied. Many of our family are displaced, millions. We speak 2 years ago, there was a report of 7 million, but today I'm not sure. Internally, those who were just internally displaced and those since the occupation have now also moved on. There is women. I'm a fundraiser. Within CAYP, we have the Upendo wa Mama. We support Mama. There's victims, girls, old women, young women, even men and boys. So, and then there's the abduction of young children, young boys they're forced to go and fight in the front line. And those things, it really define. But Maman Debora perhaps could speak in terms of legal term, what in the definition of genocide legally. There's so much to say about genocide.
I think he asked you also about the logo, because we
The
have
logo,
talking
yes,
about
and we
the
can
logo.
see you have your shirt right now.
I
So
mean,
can you,
yes,
yeah,
yes. Go
yeah, can
ahead.
you
The
explain the symbol,
logo.
like what, like the candle and like everything there?
Yeah,
I think
what's
it
that
was,
logo means?
So
Yes.
the logo, I will begin with the Lindalala. Lindalala is the plant that's just lying there. That in Congo, in Kinshasa, or in part of Congo, wherever you go, whenever there's a funeral, you would see that is marked as a sign of a funeral or a wake, or where people are gathered to mourn. It's a sign of mourning. If you go to a place, it's a point of reference. We also have, of course, the candle of hope. We in this fight, 2011 up until now, 2013 up until now, if not hope, hope for a better Congo, hope for Congo at peace with itself, hope for us, for the younger generation, for hope for end in impunity, hope for a part of our country is occupied, like enough, hope for peace, enough with the tears crying. You know, for me, I'm not just a militant, I'm a victim. I have family members who are no longer with us. I absolutely know it's not because I love Congo more than Maman Debora or yourself, Gaita, but it's something that I'm just drawn, I'm pulled to do. It's a calling. I believe my Yaya, Yvette Nyange, the Queen of Kasika, who was brutally murdered, and she was heavily pregnant, and they took her, they opened her, forgive me, people. It's a calling.
We'll go. We'll go into the testimony. Yes.
Yeah. For me, this Genocost, of course, again, we define who we are. We see the candle of hope. It has our flag, national flag, just to reveal that it identifies that we are. But again, it's the candle of hope. The candle of hope. We need to hold on to that. To hold on to hope, and that must fuel our advocacy and campaign. I hope that answers it.
Yes, you did. You did. And I'm gonna go back to Dr. Kayembe, because we were talking about that you think that there was still 99% of work to do, right? But if we have to also kind of like do like in French we say bilan, kind of like have an idea of like, okay, what has been done so far? Things are not perfect, but did we at least move forward, right? So
Since I arrived, I think we came out from a group of youth without a front to a group of youth who is very confident because they have a front person who can stand for them. That's something I felt, that the fact that every time there was something happening, they would come to me and say, Mama Debora, what can we do in this place? And I advise them. Luckily, they always listen to me, and I like that. There's also the fact that people around the world knows who I am for the Genocost. We are in the public gathering here. I'm just make some reserve of saying some things in publics, but there was some confrontation where my name, it came out to be the person to talk to when it comes to CAYP or Genocost. And I have to step in to protect the cause. So these things happen lately quite a lot. And that came from the Congolese government, from Kinshasa, in a hypocritical way, which I don't really appreciate at all. So we come from the place where we become uncountable. You have to come to us to talk to us. And we're not going to bunch for things that doesn't not worth the cause that we're taking. We are very serious about this cause. You bring your chip chop, we chip chop you. You go down, we go down. You go high, we go higher. So they know you don't black with these people because the person in front of them has a reputation for that. So we still have a lot to do. We still have a lot to do. That's why I say I still have 99%, but the 0.5 has knocked some people down, believe me.
I love that. The 0.5% still was a lot, even though in the scale of 100 looks. I love that perspective, and honestly, it also speaks on the work that and I've joined the fight only 4 years ago, but my mom Mimie, like I said, she has been there since 2011 organizing.
Yes,
Like 2013 with the Genocost. That's your entire youth gone, college and all that. Like, can you imagine people going to like primary school, graduated, and you still fighting for that? And we talked about the second Congo invasion in 1998, but the first one was 1996. So technically, this year is going to be 30 years since the first Congo invasion. But I wanted to go back to what you said, briefly mentioning the Congolese government, and talking about being honest about where we are and about FONAHAV, which is the institution that is organizing the Genocost. FONAHAV exists on paper since December 2022. Right?
Okay.
And they're again the Congolese organization that is in charge of promoting
Reparation.
providing reparation to the victims, promoting the recognition of genocide, not just in the Congo but also internationally.
Mhm.
But that organization exists since 2022.
Mhm.
There is a memorial now that is national, August 2nd. I think this year is going to be the second year, third
Okay.
year nationally,
Mhm.
right? Is it second
Yeah.
year? Yeah. There has been also, and then you mentioned that, Dr. Kayembe, the UN statement
Yeah.
that President Tshisekedi did, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But reparations. We have seen everything so far, but actual reparation of the
But
people.
there's something to say about the Congolese government is the way they're doing things without conviction. That makes them looking very weak in the front of the world. Because when you want to take a fight which is larger than any fight that exists in this world, you have to act with conviction. That's the first thing. Now we go down to Fonarev. He has a clear, my understanding, their role is about reparation and taking care of the victims. But what they're doing in practice has nothing to do with what they say they're supposed to do. So they're going aside of what they're supposed to do, really. They just, the way the French say, pêle-mêle. It's messy. Yeah, that's English. It's messy. So when people doesn't have a conviction about what they want to do and how they want to proceed, they become messy. That is Fonarev. So I think the Congolese government has every right to put an institution that could tackle the issue that the devastation in Eastern Congo has brought. And I think they believe Fonarev is supposed to do that role, but I don't believe Fonarev is doing exactly what the government is asking them to do. That's my lecture of this situation. I welcome every single organization that wants to come and help out on the situation. I welcome every single person with their own initiative to come and to make the fire higher so we can show the world how we are committed to this cause. But I want every single person to do his job properly. Chacun à sa place. So don't take the role of the other. Don't stop the other to do the role properly, and don't mix up. Don't be messy. That's the problem. Yeah, that's the problem with the Congolese government. They just don't know what they want to do exactly. They are more on the buzz, on the noisy. In practice and tactically or strategically in this matter, there's nothing. That's
Yeah,
the situation. There's
that's
nothing.
that's very unfortunate. That's very unfortunate. And Mama Mimi, I want to know, because it is something that Congolese Action Youth Platform, and you are one of the co-founders, and as I said earlier, you were there in the room. Yes, the government took over or is taking over, and as Dr. Kayembe said, not necessarily in a way that is ethical, in a way that is honoring the victims or honoring the struggle. So I believe that the CAYP, the Congress Action Group platform, with the original Genocost, has still been following closely. So can you talk to us about the situation of Genocost in terms of the reparation to the victims, what we've seen on the ground? And just if you can take talk about that.
There's a 0.5, thank you, Gaetan, 0.5 advancement, and we look closely. We do not share about it, we don't praise it, but we see it, we salute it. We salute a dream that we had in 2013, being spoken of by the head of the country in a Security Council space by the UN. We salute it. We know the Minister of Education spoke about teaching of Genocost to students within the education. Where we are with it today, we don't know, but we hope they'll put strategies in place to really include any curriculum. But have we been approached about it? No, not necessarily. But with Fonarev, we've been aware of it. We are aware. We were there when we heard when it was founded. But I think I like to talk more so about what we've done, we've been able to achieve. 2 years ago, we, alongside La Ligue, International League for Defense for Congolese Women's Rights, a jurist called Lila Sansa. We produced a memorandum, and that was given to 5 other institutions at national level, but also international level. After a while, we had to submit. So it was given to the president's office. We gave it to the parlementaire, etc. Just because we stand firm with what it is that we want to see. There's advancement, but there's no political willingness. We are among what we ask for is for an official that the Genocost is there's a law put in place constitutionally. So then even after this government, the law will be in place for the one who comes after, that is not rectified. We want to see that open. And that sort of differs to what role the FONAREV is playing today.
But I really want to emphasize on the victims, though, because there are millions of dollars right now. My understanding is FONAREV is getting about FONAREV is getting about, excuse me,
11%.
11% of mining's revenue. So if you think about cobalt, copper, gold, and all the minerals extracted in the Democratic Republic of the Congo by multinationals, by other countries, 11% of that revenue will go directly or has been going for the past 3 years directly to this governmental institution. So I really want to emphasize, I want you to speak on what's going on with the victims, right? Are we receiving echo of victims on the ground being compensated? Are we receiving echo on the ground of something put in place to give some sort of justice? And I want Dr. Kayembe, Maman Debora Kayembe, to also speak on that legal aspect, because I really wanted to touch on the memorandum that you told us, and what is actually asking versus what is actually possible on an international scene.
I mean, the First Lady had a foundation, and through that foundation, they produced the document. The FONAREV was founded, and the purpose was to repair for victim, reparation for victim, for Kisangani, and I have seen, or we've all seen, whenever there's a Genocost Day, victims are brought to Kinshasa, or we've seen them on the ground in prior to the occupation. We've seen the cemetery of Genocost, and are they repairing victims? I know my family hasn't received anything. If I were to talk of, the Nyanges, and for we do have family members who were brutally killed.
Maybe you can expand on that. Sorry.
But
I think it's,
I stand firm. For me, I'll say this.
Yes.
No, I say sorry. I firmly believe for there to be justice, before there's reparation, there has to be justice. And where CAYP stands is to demand justice. There's no peace. What does justice look like? How will you, what does $500 do for me? Even if there are some women victim of sexual violence who were given 500, 1,000, and I'm not sure. I cannot speculate beside the report that we all see online. There's many reports that highlight how the mishandling of funds that's supposed to be for victims. But again, I stand in a place where personally, I do not put my energy on that. For again, my family, we've not received any reparation. Maman Debora, I'm not sure if you have something to say. There's critics, but again, I mean,
my issue here is we have the case of the genocide of the Congolese people as the massive murder that happened, which need to be recognized. And for that, we can either manage to get a resolution to the UN, we can either bring the case to the ICJ. These are the two places where really, if we want to recognize that the killing that happened in Eastern Congo was a genocide. Okay? And then the originality of our genocide is that we have to call it a Genocost. Now, I'm going to bring you back to the history of the transatlantic slave trade. Do you know why, until today, they've never recognized the transatlantic slave trade as a genocide? It's never been recognized. Now, with the movement of Black Lives Matter, the scholars are bringing it forward, saying there was a genocide of Black people to the transatlantic slave trade. But the reality is still a transatlantic slave trade. That means it was a trade for profit, and the person was on that trade was not recognized as individual. They were properties. Properties. That's the law at that time. When did they change to become slave? This property to be recognized slave with the High Court case of Cinque. Have you watched Amistad?
Amistad, yeah.
Amistad is an autobiographic story of Cinque, the guy who came to London and said that he wanted his case to be listened and he can return to Africa. When you read the weight of that decision of the High Court judges, the 6 High Court judges who sat on that court, they say these people are not property, but they are human beings and they are recognized as slaves. The root of that judgment went on to becoming one of the biggest part of the mounting of the slaves, the Atlantic slave trade. So that slave stopped when that case started in that court. Now, what I'm saying to the Congolese victims, stop crying on YouTube, stop crying on X. Take your case to any competent court in Europe. Tell this court what happened to your families. Then we can have at least 500 Congolese in every single court here in Europe telling the story of the killing that happened in Congolese. So then we'll have a writ for us. Probably this is going to be the beginning of something. We are in the public space. I keep it here. I'm not going to go further. Okay?
Wow.
That's my intelligence there. You see? On the 99% to come is one of them. Okay? So we need to stop the politics of lamentation, of crying. We need to be practicable. We need to be in practice. We need to act, but in the practical way. If you are a victim, if you lost somebody and you came to a land where your body has recovered, your mind has recovered, take your right in your hands and seek them. Simple as that. Then, now the question I'm asking myself, what is the Congolese government is doing while the war in Palestine was 2 days ago recognized in the UN as a genocide? We have our war there for the last 20 years. Not a case ever came to the court there in the UN to be recognized. A resolution 2 days ago recognized what is happening now in Palestine as a genocide. Why? We're wasting our time. We know focusing our efforts for those to the channel that give us something palpable, something profitable, something we can claim on to move forward. This is the messy I'm talking about. The government is just messy. They don't get it. They don't understand what they're doing.
And in terms of the process then, I myself have been struggling to understand, and I'm pretty sure my background is in civil engineering. So I also understand that many people watching us right now and even later, they also struggle to understand kind of like the process of the steps to get it recognized, to get to have a competent court that will sit on those cases and finally recognize what's going on in the Congo as an atrocity, as a Genocost. So can you speak to
what
us?
I'm saying. The UN and the ICC are the person here, but they're not the only one. The Supreme Court in London here, that Supreme Court we have in London here, is the most powerful Supreme Court in the world. A judgment coming from that Supreme Court can move everything. Okay. Can move everything. Okay, so
yeah.
that's inbox. That's inbox. Okay.
Okay.
But then Mama, but we
Food for thought.
Skype.
Food for thought for all the activists and people listening. Yeah.
You see, so the UN and the ICG probably are the good way to go, but not only government can seek that, individual can seek that, victim can seek that. Okay, but strategically, that inbox, you have to find a way to do it, and there are several ways to get there.
No, Mimie, did you want to say something?
No, I was saying the demand is for our government. Let us begin with passing the law nationally first. And of course, in the meantime, the call for victims, of course, to go at the international level. But because why I said that is because in the past couple of days, also we've seen a petition going online for government accusing itself or asking itself.
Oh yeah, that petition. Yes.
And
Please,
people are
us more
sharing
about
that very
that.
So this is what I call messy. You know, people don't know what they're doing. It's messy. There is no in and out. There is no straightforward things. There's no plan. It's messy. Why? Because they're playing with money. That's the thing. You don't go to a cause. You don't change the world with money. You change the world with your will, determination. This is how you change the world. You ask Dr. King how much million he had his bank account to change America? Really?
Yeah. Wow. And Mama Mimie, I know at the beginning you wanted to kind of like share your testimony or your story. I don't know if you wanna kind of like explain the direct connection that you have with the conflict to the audience before we go into looking forward, what to expect for the next 5 years.
Yeah. I said earlier, I'm not just a combatant or a militant. I'm not just an activist, but I am a victim. I spoke about being from Eastern Congo. I spoke about having family members who were perished, and most publicly is the one we called Yaya Yvette Nyange. She was. We share a grandfather. In my tradition or in my background, my family, she's not a cousin, but she's a sister. I last saw her when I was almost 9 years old. Then she came to Kinshasa. She was about to be married to a chief, a king. And she came and, there was a party and beautiful, angelic woman, young lady. So Yvette Nyange was married to the chief of Kasika, and in the chefferie of Luindi to François Moubeza III. And they came in 1998, 24th of October 1998. They came to their compound, and they meant business. She was heavily pregnant with twins. They really took life out of her. Alone in their own compound, there was 37, close to 40 people found, alongside the chief and everybody in the courtyard. And they pursued. They went on to the church, the Catholic Church, and really did unalive many people. It's all in the mapping report, and they have name. Of course, we know of the Armée Patriotique Rwandaise, branch of Front Patriotique of Rwanda, and I am a victim. So in that sense, I know of family members and sisters and cousins who are no longer here because of this war, they attained HIV and they're no longer alive, and that went on to become AIDS. And but like I said again, this is beyond me. It's my family knows what I do. We are traumatized people. We are silent. It still hurt. We say close to 30 years now, but it's so also painful. Also, as if it happened yesterday. My her mother, who was my dad's sister, no longer alive because passed away during COVID in Belgium. I know each time we'll gather around her picture, their picture. And there was also a younger sibling who passed away, but that was just from being displaced and she fell ill. She was the youngest of the family. Her picture lived with us up until today. You know, I go to family members, my cousin, my sis, my brothers in Belgium, her picture still lives. The call is, that's my motivation, my family. But Mama, you know, I have my mother still alive. I'm blessed to still have my mother alive and my father. She speaks about the Mulele fight. You know, we're speaking about the history of this repetitive, you know, looting of the Congo, displacement of people. She speaks about that. She remembers that living in the forest for a long time. Even one of her sisters was born in the forest during this war. So it just shows you where people who we have this history, but we have to resist. For we have children and their children's children. Today, yes, occupation, but we need to resist and keep on hope that for better Congo. It's only us who can do it in the true sense. Maman Debora, oh, I love you so much. We adore you for your a person of integrity, your values, honest, transparent, direct, and that's how I've been able to work and stand side by side with my colleague, Mamokam, Sly, Yakio. Oh my goodness, Gaetan. Congo has a good future.
Yeah.
Congo will be a future of itself.
Congo has a good future. First, I don't know, Maman Kayembe, if you wanna maybe add something.
I have a link directly to the Northern and South Kivu. My origin is from Katanga. My father was from Katanga, but the parents who raised me were from South Kivu in a village called Minova. And in Minova, the report that I've read, there were repeated rape of children. I mean,
Yeah.
the children that I know, I saw. This father of South Kivu gave me the education I am. Because of him, I am the woman I am today. So I stand beside the CAYP group and the genocide to fight alongside them so I can not repay what he did to me, but it's a gesture of gratitude to my father, the father who raised me, because his land has been destroyed completely. And the future of these places, I don't know how it's going to be, but it's going to be really difficult for everyone. I believe that CAYP can do many things, you know, if they have the possibility, because they have the heart, they have the determination, but you can't do these things without fund, without any kind of support. So I came to them to give them my knowledge, my capacity, and the bit I can give them. This is what I give them. But I know there are people who are suffering. Their suffering has no name, has no definition. And the means that the government is putting alongside those people to recover from it, it's 0.00000%. So we have a long way to go. We have many things to do to see this part of DRC, the most beautiful part of DRC. It's people to be as beautiful as this land is. You know, that's the work I want to do alongside CAYP, because CAYP is an organization independent of myself. My role is
we are independent, Mama, through and through.
But my organization is full options, but I, alongside CAYP, every single day to accompany them in this heavy burden they're given to themselves. It's a heavy burden. You know, it's not an easy thing to do, but we're here. We do as much as we can.
And I just want to say that at the beginning, I said that I will be sitting next to two incredible women, and that's is the case, and that is the evidence. So thank you to the both of you for sharing such a very personal story, and that also really speak on, because I was reflecting this morning on the fight, and again, I'm only year 4 in this fight, and I'm already drained, I'm already exhausted, I'm already tired, and I see the two of you, and I see the people that I have the honor to work with every single day, with CAYP, with all these conversations that we have on the side, organizing, speaking, brainstorming, and the work, Dr. Kayembe, that you also have been doing in your own way, and knowing the stuff that you all have been doing while having a direct connection to this crisis, to this Genocost. I think that speaks to the idea of why this idea of Genocost cannot just be bought. Because Mama Mimi, you said that what that's $1,500, $500 will do to you when you have lost someone. What would that do to you? That at the end of the day, the only way for you to move forward is by honoring the victim. But how do you do that? Is by seeking justice. And I think that has been now, without even asking why, Dr. Kayembe, you went on and pursue to become the person that you are today, 54th rector of a great university in the UK, Edinburgh University, and also having seek knowledge within as a lawyer. It makes sense for your fight and why you have been committed. And Mama Mimi also makes sense while you haven't let that you call baby go, because you the two of you have a personal connection to that, and this principle of justice is something that is really dear to your heart, because of what you went through, because of what your family went through, because of what your loved one went through. So I wanted to say thank you to the two of you for sharing. I appreciate that. Looking forward, because I have a 5-year question. If this, for the both of you, if this campaign succeeds, and I do believe that it will succeed, and it's really crazy because it took from the time that Genocost was coined, was engineered, I will use that term, from nowhere, 2013, to the time that President Tshisekedi decided to recognize that as a national remembrance day.
Yeah.
10 years went by. 10 years just for that
Yeah.
be recognized nationally first.
Yeah.
And there is still some sort of like gaps, and that's what we're working on to
Yeah.
make sure that the government is forced to fill those gaps, right? But 5 years, if this campaign succeeds, and I think that if it's not us that will see this campaign succeed, it must be our children.
Yeah.
If it's not our children, it must be the children of our children. But we need to continue to educate so that
Yeah.
people are going to carry on that torch.
Yes.
So if this campaign succeeds, if this campaign really succeeds, what does the DRC look like in 5 years that is different from today?
Okay. What I wish to see, and then if CAYP still allow me to be by their side the next 5 years, is probably to draw a plan to see what is first feasible and what is not feasible. But what is certain is the name Genocost has found its way nationally and internationally. I know what I am talking about. I've had a meeting here with one of the biggest firms in London around CAYP and Genocost. And I was surprised how these people consider enormously the work that CAYP has done so far. And during that meeting, my role was to clarify the gaps. And they are huge gaps. And they are very ugly ones. and it's still going there. That's you. That I think I can give myself that role of clarifying that. It's very important. So in 5 years' time, the word Genocost will have its legitimacy all around the world in 5 years' time. I think the biggest part here is the establishment of justice and the reward of justice. What I say, reward of justice, I mean a UN resolution on the recognition of the killings as a genocide in Eastern Congo, an ICJ case. I don't believe the one we have right now goes in the way that we want to have them. It's another story because I read the paper. It's nothing to do with recognizing the genocide itself. It's about, the case is about recognizing that these people attack us and they have to pay us the money like the other did. That's the case in the ICJ. No, it's not really the recognition. And secondly,
you're talking about the case that the Congolese government brought to the ICJ recently?
Yeah, that case was there. That case was the initiator of that case was Joseph Kabila. It wasn't the current government. And then there was an exception, 2 exceptions that the other people made to stop the case moving forward. And these other people, by themselves, by their own will, removed the exceptions. Why did you see that in the court of law? Is this a joke? And then people saying, oh, we have a case with the ISIS. Are you mad? Are you out of your mind? Yeah? So that is the case. That's a waste of money. So we're wasting our times there. No, nothing's going to come there. Because what's going to happen if the same person brings back the exception again? What's going to happen? It's going to be just turning around, dancing, kumbaya, kumbaya. On n'a pas le temps pour ça. Okay? Now, the other reward of the justice is the money that the Congo can be paid off for feeding the world the way it has fed the world, and the cost that feeding of the world costs to the population. I think that is why you got this thing messy, because people want to put hands on that money. It's a lot of money, plenty of money. Now that money comes to DRC. If you have an honest government, no one is working in Congo. Everyone's sitting at home. You see where we are? So the thing here in the next 5 years, it's when someone go to the street, you ask, do you know what is the Genocost? Oh yes, it's the genocide of the people of Congo. I believe we call it Genocost because they kill people for the economic gain reasons. If every child on the street said the same as he says about the Holocaust, which is the genocide of the Jews, we get somewhere. We're getting somewhere. But the complexity of the justice part, the reparation is a lifelong situation. You find an individual who has been raped repeatedly, the rest of his life is going to need counseling, psychological support, psychiatric support every single day of her life until he passes away. That's how you treat the survivors. You don't give them t-shirt. You don't give them to go to dance in the public place, to go to memorial. No, you treat their mental condition psychiatrically. And that may take decades to heal someone. And these people end up being healed. And while they are properly healed, they help the others. You see? So there are many features about what's happening with the Jewish after the Second World War. They were recognized, they were recognized that what happened to them was a genocide, and they were paid off. That's why you don't find any poor Jew in this world. Oh, the Jews are millionaires. They were paid off for what happened to them. These are things that people don't talk, but that's the reality. It happens like this. So let's do these things the way that it's supposed to be done. We are bringing a new terminology to define what happened to our country. We need to have the national and the international recognition of the term first. Then we have to begin now, even it takes 20 years, even it takes 5 years, the case in a court, whether it's an international court or a national court, the victims need to take that exercise of claiming the right on the land where they found peace. It is a right. It's not something that can be refused to anyone here in Europe or in America. You've been in your own country, you come to a country of safety, you feel better, but you think you've been hurt, you take your case in court to get justice. All right? It's not excusable. And then the UN, we have to go to the UN, to the process of the UN, and those are other international courts. The Treaty of Language, that happens once there is at least a writ of law that recognizes the existence of the case. Then the Treaty of Language can modify it. So you need a legal base of that. If you don't have the legal base, you're not going to be successful. So in 5 years' time, I want to see a much more settled CAYP with members who doesn't go and come back, who are really there all the time. And in 5 years' time, I really want to see the whole world recognizing the genocide happened in DRC, and we can identify it as a Genocost because of its specificity. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, thank you so much. And Mama Mimie, same question to you. In 5 years, what do you see the struggle going, the combat? Where do you see it?
I think in terms of the legal reform, Mama Debora has said it clearly. For the near future, we're currently resisting and fighting to see that at national level a law is passed. We ourselves, the government cannot act like a civil society, but rather just put in place that law, just pass the law.
Yes.
Just as you've passed the referendum, just as you easily so passed the law of reparation, which then born for now have, you can pass a law to recognize it. We do not need a petition at international level, or even as it's happened tomorrow, there's a concert to ensure that people people sign this new law. Again, Monsieur le Président just passed the law. Yeah. We submitted the memorandum. That's for the near future. Another step is education. For me to be able to sit in front of you, Gaëtan, I really needed to know who I am. I needed to feed the reason why I even resist today, why I continue to advocate, but in an honest sense, and understand what is. It's not a slogan. This is not just a slogan. To be honest, you must be a person of integrity. Congo deserves that of you. That's our motherland. We need to protect it. And so this is even a message for the Free Congo movement peers that we have. Like, do things with integrity, honesty, transparency. It's only so that we will be repaid. Congo will be at peace. I really believe in karma. That's my big step, the law. I spoke about advocacy. Keep talking about Congo, by being use your space. The short term, obviously, CAYP, we do welcome a team. We are collective, honest. We're very sensitive. I think likama mboka, likama makila, tozala penza sensible. Pour moi, I'm not sure, maybe I'm an empath, but the people that I work, we're like this. And we are sensitive to that lack of honesty. Vraiment, ça veut dire ils sont touchés. Il y a quelque chose qui est honnête en nous.
In English, please.
So I was saying that CAYP, the near future, education is a must. Advocacy is a must. The past 2 years, 24 months, we've been in spaces where we're talking solidarity. We are talking Free Congo. So those who are advocating, do your research first. Maman Debora spoke about being victims, coming from a place of trauma, educate yourself, do the counseling, and advocate in all honesty, with integrity. Because within CAYP, we find that there are people who began, some of us are still here, some fell off for particular reasons, but there are those who also, when they come with us, because it's a matter of the soil, the land, they just fall off. We are very it's a calling, like I said, it's a calling. So we do welcome members. We are a collective, of organizations. In the next 5 years, we want to build and structure. We want those who are key knowledge, experience, be it social media, because most recently we received feedback that not many people understand what it is that we do. But we welcome new member in the next 5 years. Yes, the Minister of Education on the ground spoke about educating to include the Genocost within the curriculum. Let's see it. Let us not be a nation of written
Promises.
constitution, politics, and and not really.
And it's important. It's important when we come to matter of justice to separate things. Politics is politics. Justice is justice. I feel like in DRC, every time we want to talk about reparation justice, you put politics on it, and that destroyed everything. If people can focus on legal matter, which are the matter of justice, not to mix up with politics, I think we get better place. But right now, the education and the mentality, I talk about the mentality, is making everything political. But the crime does not choose who's the president, who's not president. The crime happened, and justice is there to redress the crime. That's all.
Yeah. So we do welcome new members. Today, Gaetan allowed me to speak about, we have 5 years, there's a lot of work to do. There's really a lot of work to do. We are aside, a civil society, not quite in alignment with the government, but but we are here to set the best foot forward, to share how we began, what is the Genocost, what we believe is a matanga. It's a mourning, it's a day of commemoration. Why do we commemorate? Why do we come together and light a candle? It's not a celebration. It's not an opportunity to take money.
There's something to say about the thing of the mourning part of the Genocost. The culture of mourning in Congo has disappeared the last 20 years. I have to say this. I was brought up at the time Mobutu was president, and I left DRC. I was 28 years old. And Kabila was father for almost a year. Kabila Joseph, almost a year when I left. I never been there during his reign as president. But during the reign of Mobutu, one single accident on the sea or on the road, when there's 20 and 60 people died, that day followed 3 days of national mourning with songs of praising the Lord on national television. Now it does no longer exist in DRC. The way of living has completely went down. People, as much as the number of people are dying, there is this indifference about the government. They don't care. They just saw things happening. Today is the first, and tomorrow is the commemoration of the Genocost. Why on earth you can imagine there is a concert planning to be played in the country?
$20 to get in. VIP, I think $50.
What respect are you giving to the deaf? We are Bantu people. We are African
free concert.
Huh?
There's free concert.
So people go dancing and drinking. So we imagine the country is mourning, people dancing and drinking and taking drugs. God knows how many will survive naturally by the morning. Yeah?
Sponsored by the government, by the way.
No, this is the country who is mourning. I think le mœurs sont tombés trop bas en RDC, il faut le dire. The education is no longer there. The education that teach you to be the empathy and the compassion, seeing other people suffering and suffering with them, is no longer there. But this is the role of the government and the civil society to hold the government into account. Where is the Congolese civil society?
Yeah,
there is something fundamentally wrong that's gone in DRC right now that you don't know what is happening here. So much people are dying and no one is saying anything. No one is mourning. No one is. It's terrible.
Yeah. And again, thank you both of you. But before I let you go, I think we're over time. And I apologize for taking more time than what we agreed on. But if someone watching this in the diaspora right now, or even later, whether it's in Portland, Oregon, Portland, Maine, LA, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, or Paris, Brussels, London, and they want to do something concrete, not necessarily to post or not just to have an hashtag, but what's the thing that you will tell them to do this week, particularly, and then right after this weekend, I guess, this
I
tomorrow,
think this weekend, every
and then
single
after Genocost.
this
After
weekend,
Genocost, yeah.
yeah, but I think this weekend, every single person has to have a moment of remembrance. Either you go to a group, to a local group, either you call people into your house. I've learned a lot approaching the Jewish, the way they commemorate the Holocaust. It's so special in their home. It's become a tradition. They don't forget. They don't make big noise, but inside their home, they have settings where it's time to remember, and family comes together and gather together. What I'm saying to the Congolese now, you need to build that culture of remembering the other who died. If you can go to a meeting with the others, fine. If you can do that, remember in your room, in your room, in your living room with your children, please do. But tell the story. Tell the story. Tell the children how we've been attacked, how we were kind enough to open the doors to others, and how they come to destroy our land. They need to know that. It's the perpetuity of the narrative, that narrative which is true and is not a lie. Our children must know that story. It's important. And then for the hashtag, for the anything you can do, even an image, even a picture, we will remember them, because the game here is for us to forget what happened into our land. It's been going on for so many years. People saying black people killing each other. What madness is that? No, it's not true. People from other land came to our land and attacked us in our land. There were orchestration of military convoy in the Congolese soil to kill specific tribes throughout these 30 years. And this story must be told. We cannot forget that. We will have our scholars in 20 years. We have our tutors. We have our educator to educate the same way every single genocide happened in the world for the Congolese. This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Mimie, what about you?
Absolutely. Maman Debora says it. Within your home, within your community, gather. It's even amazing that because we are a Christian nation, or we're calling on those who go to church prior to the service begins. Reach out to your pastor or your priest and let them know to have a moment for Congo and pray for Congo. In the afternoon on the CAYP, we've been working with our partners, and we will not be stopped in vain, but they are still meeting. We are resisting, despite the fact that we're being blocked and we're being threatened, and our partners are being bribed. I have to say it. I am saddened and I'm angry, but our partners on the ground in Congo will be meeting in Kinshasa. Those who will be meeting in Kananga, Mbujimai, those who will meet in many cities, Lubumbashi, they will meet. I know in London, we will meet in the heart of Brixton. You can contact Congolese, Congo, DM us if you want on Instagram, which is at Congo, at Genocost, forgive me, or you can email us, congoyouthuk@gmail.com. Our social media, we are sharing the flyers. So London, we're meeting for 2 hours. It's a commemoration. I salute JJ, Maman Debora will be there. I salute, maybe past friend we are releasing in London. We're releasing, actually from midnight, we released a documentary that tells our story. We've been building on this.
Finally.
At this midnight.
Shout out to Yakil, who's also one of the
salute to
co-founders.
Yakil.
He's one of
I
the
am
co-founders
the
of
producer. In Paris, Maman Cam, there's a march at la Place de Bastille. We are calling you to show up with your flag for a moment of a walk in silence. There will be solidarity march. Maman Cam, I salute you. I adore you. What you're doing is not going in vain. I'm going to cry because we're doing it. In Belleville, Washington, Gaetan, you are coming together we have all these flyers. So Dan salutes. In Brazil, we have friends will be doing as they've been doing for the past 3-4 years or so. They're meeting. Kinshasa, our team are there. But you have to come to us. We'll give you the information. We just won't share it publicly because they are after us.
They've been after us for this year. It's been another level of coming after us, but I like that. It means that our momentum is still there. It means that we're still standing tall.
It's important.
And then I think they're going to be exhausted in this. They're the one going to be exhausted because we're not getting exhausted for this.
No, we're not fighting them. We're not fighting them. The pursuit of
we don't care about
them. No, 13
honestly.
years it's been. But we call on everybody, if you want. It's also a virtual campaign. So we do have the profile, which is www.genocost.org/profile/ within second you can upload and a picture and download the picture and change it, or you can choose the candle of hope, change it on your profile. We call on you, if not us, if we can say Black Lives Matter, allow others to say Genocost Day. We won't forget them. And this is for the Rosi Mukendi, this is for the family members and the friends of the family, this is for Mama Africa, Mama Congo. And Gaita, have I forgotten anything?
No, you touch on everything.
Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you so much. Thank you both for the conversation. This was very important to have it, and we will continue to speak until
tomorrow
is finally a reality, not just in the Congo, but in the entire world. And we're gonna be back tomorrow, different settings. People will be celebrating.
I think it's important that as a patron, I wanted to announce that to CAYP that I'm willing now to put a 30 days agenda of commemoration every single day, every single year for Genocost. Not only one day, the second, but from next year, we'll do 30 days of commemoration, the whole month of August from now on. So we'll have the second to start up, that's the commemoration then, and we continue until the end of August. This month of August, we do better than that, starting from next year.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's actually interesting that you say that, because that brings me back to what the president of CAYP, Congolese Action Platform France, shared with us yesterday. And she said that many people think that Genocost is on August 2nd, and that's it. Actually, the fight for Genocost
begins on the 3rd.
After we have remembered, after we have honored the dead, the work start the following day. So that really joined in a really mysterious way what the president of CAYP France said. 30 days after August 2nd to mobilize, to organize, and to strategize. So thank you to the two of you. Thank you both for this conversation, for your time, for your honesty, for your integrity, and for your voice. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Wow. Two incredible women. The conversation was a little bit heavy, and if you had to kind of like step away, pause it, I completely understand, because these conversations are never easy, right? But we said what we said, we shared what needed to be shared, and that conversation was real with Mimie Wite-Nkate, one of the co-founders of Congolese Action Platform, the person who literally initiated or engineered Genocost 13 years ago. 13 years ago, I was still in Congo, arriving in the US. Put that into perspective. Where were you in 2013 when this young lady, along with her comrades, Yakil, I salute Sylvester Mido, I salute Kamail, I salute, and everybody else that were with them too, they were in that room and engineering that concept that we believe will bring justice to the Congolese people. 13 years ago, where were you 13 years ago? What were you doing 13 years ago? And then I spoke, had the honor to have Dr. Kayembe as well, 54th Rector of the University of Edinburgh, a lawyer, an activist, and an empath, an amazing woman who is going to be the patron for the Genocost for this year again. This is the second time that she is, and that speak on the value of the values that she carries as a person, as a woman in her sphere, in an environment. So you watch two incredible women, and I hope you were able to understand Genocost, to understand the campaign that was built, that they built. And you'll also understand the problem that there is with Genocost. That the campaign that they built is not the problem. And that's what I want to talk about now for the remaining like 20-ish minutes. I will try to like really go fast. That campaign itself is not the problem, and I want to talk about what's happening within that campaign, or with the campaign, around that campaign, inside our own, I would say, government. And Dr. Kayembe spoke a lot in details with passion about some of it, and you also heard Mama Mimie mention that. Because what I'm about to say, and it's Congo Unfiltered, is going to also make some people uncomfortable. And if you are on the other side, if you are sitting right now on the side of the oppressor, on the side of those who use unethical behavior to continue to suppress what we want, which is justice, continue to manipulate the opinion narratives so that they continue to siphon the money instead of providing the reparations for the people, you are going to be disappointed. I'm going to ask you right now to just end it. So, Fonahev, and I mentioned that, that's kind of like the charade underneath the campaign, in my own humble opinion. It's interesting to keep that in mind, because you have an organization that 13 years ago they came up with this idea, and they were like, you know what, we want to create a framework for justice. We want to somehow not necessarily replace what's already existing, what's already in place in terms of the genocide, the Convention of Genocide, but they wanted to complement it. They wanted to make it so that you also reflect the reality of the Congolese people. If you're getting slapped, no one can tell you how you feel. You know what it's like to be slapped. And you have the right to describe it however you want. If it was a back slap or regular slap, it is yours to define. It is yours to tell. That's your story. And that's what those Congolese folks now, like I said, the honor to have them with kids now. They have their own life. But I joke with them, once upon a time, they were young, and they dedicated that youth for the Congo, for the cause. And then for now, have the National Fund for Reparation for the victims, created by law in December 22nd, 2022. On paper, it's supposed to be funded by, I would say, 11% of the mining royalties, and I mentioned that. Think about coltan, gold, cobalt, tin, tungsten, diamond. 11% of that revenue, those royalties, go directly to FUNAREV, which is an institution, a government institution, right underneath the First Lady, the wife of the president. So it is part of the executive. And we're talking about 11% that is going directly to that organization in a country that produces some of the most valuable minerals. So we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars a year, a month, going directly to the victims. Supposedly going directly to the victims. But where is that money? There is no public accounting because the way FUNAREV has been set up, it does not give, it does not, FUNAREV is not accountable to anyone. It is not under the authority of the parliament, who would, like in any other country, like Congress we have in the US, National Assembly in other countries, where member of parliament have the unique right to call out that institution if there is evidence, and we have seen evidence of money being mishandled, money being siphoned. But the reality is the Congolese government, the Congolese parliament does not have that authority today. They cannot summon anyone in FUNAREV and ask them questions for the simple reason FUNAREV is not accountable to the parliament, is not accountable to the people, I will say, because the parliament is supposed to represent the people. So there is no public accounting. There is no transparent budget. The accounting, even that's what led to the leak of the budget of FUNAREV, with people knowing how much folks within FUNAREV are getting paid. We're talking about folks getting paid $30,000 a month. A month. In the United States, with a federal minimum wage of $7.25, that's almost the salary for the whole year of someone in this country that somebody in the Congo is making a month. And that leaked because FUNAREV has been hiring private folks to do their accounting. So no public accounting, no transparent budget, no clear answer on what's actually being collected versus what's actually being dispersed. We got a memorial in 2025, and that's coup du chapeau. I will applaud, because that was one of the objectives of Genocost. And we can't just erase that part of the history or the narrative just because we don't necessarily agree with the government. That is history. And President Tshisekedi made history by doing that last year. We got an announcement about 6 more memorials to come. Memorials are critical. Memorials are important. They represent the symbol. There is no genocide that took place that is being recognized today without a memorial also happening in the same place at the same time. So I'm not dismissing any of them. I'm not dismissing the mere point or the mere fact of having a memorial created. But a memorial is not a reparation. A statue doesn't pay a widow's rent. A plague saying Genocost does not put a child through school. A child that lost their parents. 200,000 children today are unable to go to school. In the Kivu alone, and I'm not even talking, that's recently due to the war that we have seen with Rwandan's M23, 200 children in the Kivu, in those occupied territories. So we're not even trying to estimate how many children actually has suffered if we have to talk about now a 3 decades war. And that's the part that is not really talked about what's, at the end of the day, the government's vision for justice, for reparation. So in 2026, our own civil society, Congolese Action Youth Platform, the same organization again that helped build Genocost from nothing, again, from absolutely nothing. That word did not even exist. Now you can Google it, you can ask ChatGPT or whatever AI tool that you are using, whatever Safari or whatever other browser that you're using, you will know that that word didn't even exist 13 years ago. And you will know who invented this. So that organization helped build Genocost from absolutely nothing. CAYP did. They started calling this out directly. Not Rwanda, not some foreign critique trying to discredit us. So pointing out that FONAREV and the CIAVAR are state-created institutions operating under, again, the authority of the presidency, the first lady to be precise, essentially petitioning the state to hold itself accountable. Make it make sense. That there is not independent watchdog doing it. It's a government grading its own homework. And back in March 2025, I believe, more than, I would say 60, it was 60, more than 60 civil society organizations submitted a memorandum demanding concrete actions. CAYP was also part of that. It was actually CAYP who initiated that with the partners. Not more ceremony, not more, I would say, vocabulary, but concrete progress on justice and reparation. More than a year later, we are still asking the same questions. So here's my position on Congo Unfiltered, and I really want to be candid and I want to be clear as I possibly can. This is Congo Unfiltered. I'm not going to filter myself. I'm not going to censor myself. Genocost as a moral and historic truth is not in question. What's in question here is whether our own state, the Congolese government, is using that truth as a shield, as a way to look like it's doing something on the international stage, while there are actually mechanism for justice sits essentially underfunded, unaccountable at home. And you cannot, and that's the part that when I hear the people that have been affected, Mama Mimie spoke about her own story, Dr. Kayembe spoke about her own story, people directly affected. And when I hear those stories from those people who also spent years, dedicated their lives for such mechanism of true justice to happen, to take place, it makes me angry to see a state government with millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in budgets, doing what they've been doing for years. You cannot build a movement demanding the world to take your suffering seriously if your own institutions won't take it seriously enough to share the books. And Friends of the Congo, because Congo Unfiltered is part of Friends of the Congo, we published on our social media a post confronting, or I would say exposing, the Congolese government with their own contradictions. And I will say the Israel contradiction. I really want you to follow me in that, right? Where I need you, when I need the reality to kind of like come in, it's the part of the conversation that nobody in the Congolese media, in the Congolese activism or influencer sphere is willing to have. So let's try to like lay the timeline, because in some of the responses or comments that I read on that post, that particular post about the relationship, the interesting relationship between the Congolese government, who is trying to seek international recognition for a genocide, and Israel, a government who is allegedly, right? I don't want to get in trouble, allegedly, because this case is still ongoing, accused of committing genocide in Palestine. Allegedly, right now, stand accused of committing genocide in Gaza. And that is the case that is right now at the ICJ. It is an interesting connection because the same state of Israel, and I've shared that multiple times. In 2024 report, in the UN report 2024, I believe it's S/2024/432. In the annex of that report, you will see that the UN group of experts talk about Israeli-made weapons and ammunition found in the hands of the M23. The same group accused of committing atrocities in the East, in the Congo. So when you have those evidence in front of us, how in the week that is leading to Genocost, August 2nd, how on earth would you choose that opportunity or that specific moment? You asking folks in the Congo to commemorate Genocost. You are seeking international recognition for the genocide. You introduce a case, even if Dr. Kayembe said that she did not see anything serious in there because of the language that was used, but still, you bring that case to the ICJ, the same ICJ that is accusing another country of committing genocide. That's the time that you're going to choose to do photo ops with the state, to sign bilateral agreements. So I want to lay the timeline plainly with dates, so nobody here can say that I'm exaggerating, so that nobody can also lie to you when you are confronting them and asking them questions why they're not condoning the Congolese government for siding with the alleged genocidal state. Why they're not condoning the Congolese government, President Tshisekedi, for supporting Israel, for signing bilateral agreements with Israel. Why are they being pro-Israeli states and at the same time denying the existence of another state, which is Palestine, at the same time ignoring the suffering happening to the Palestinian people? Because those values are essentially what we are trying to seek, because we are saying that as Congolese people, not just for the past 30 years, but since the Berlin Conference for 145 years and counting, we have been denied of our agency. We have been denied of our humanity. We have been denied of our rights to merely exist. Forget about the minerals, to just exist. So in 2020, President Tshisekedi has been quote unquote elected, but I will say appointed because it's Congo Unfiltered. Appointed president. He cheated. He was not supposed to be the president. They chose somebody else. The people picked someone, Martin Fayulu, but then Former President Kabila decided he was going to proclaim or appoint Tshisekedi instead. And the person who read that statement announcing Tshisekedi as the president is Corneille Nangaa, the same man, yes, you have recognized him, the same man that is leading the AFC, Alliance du Fleuve Congo / M23 today. The same M23 accused of being backed by Rwanda, the same M23 person today accused of, I don't know, treason, sentenced to death, is the one who in 2019 said that President Tshisekedi had won the election. 2020, President Tshisekedi is standing in front of AIPAC in the American Israel Public Affairs Committee and tells them that he wants to deepen ties with Israel. It's 2020. We are 3 years before October 7th. We are years before the ICJ case. No big deal, right? But he talks about appointing an ambassador in Israel. He talks about opening a trade office in Jerusalem. You can right now pause this, go back, you're going to find it, or even later, you can go ahead and look it up. His speech is online. You can listen to the speech of President Tshisekedi to open an office, a trade office, so a government official office in Jerusalem. The same Jerusalem that is right now by various countries contested. In 2021, he goes to Israel himself, meet with President Herzog directly at the presidential residence. Look it up. Footages are online. You cannot say they're AI. You cannot say they're making this up. Look it up yourself. September 2023, standing next to Bibi Netanyahu at the UN General Assembly, Tshisekedi announces that the DRC will move its embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. In exchange, Israel opens an embassy in Kinshasa. And I said earlier when we were talking about, when I mentioned in 2020 about the Jerusalem, the office of the trade office, that Jerusalem was contested. And you need to understand what that move means, because moving an embassy to Jerusalem is not a small diplomatic gesture. And if you don't know why Jerusalem is problematic, maybe you need to research more. Most of the world does not recognize Israel's sovereignty over all of Jerusalem because they say, international law says it, that Jerusalem is a Palestinian state. They actually refer to some of Palestine as the occupied territory of Palestine. Jerusalem is an occupied territory of Palestine. It is a that's not me saying that. Again, that's international law saying it. So the DRC became, at the time when President Tshisekedi was, I believe, the president of the African Union, one of the small handful of nations willing to make that statement clear on Israel's behalf. So November 2025, and that's last year, President Herzog makes a visit to Kinshasa. He thanks Tshisekedi for backing Israel's position inside the African Union. He talks about, quote, valuable alliance in the pursuit of justice in the international arena. I don't know if it's sarcasm, I don't know if it's a joke, but justice. That word coming out of a leader on Congolese soil, a leader of a nation standing accused of committing genocide on a Congolese soil, a soil that has been fighting for the atrocity to be recognized as a genocide. That the UN 2010 mapping exercise report says that if proven in front of a competent court, these crimes could be seen as a genocide. That word justice came out of the president of Israel's mouth. While our own government is out there asking the entire planet to recognize the genocide committed against us. And in that same visit, President Herzog said that the world shouldn't focus, and I quote, obsessively on Israel. That the Africa crisis, the Congo crisis deserve attention too. Think about the audacity or even that framing. He's not wrong that Africa's crisis deserve attention, but he's saying that while standing next to a president whose entire foreign policy signature this decade has been about asking the world to focus on a Congolese crisis. And getting a warm, I would say, accolade from Israel in returning for staying quiet about a different one, different crisis. I don't know. It's baffling to me. The cooperation made are named in that meeting, in those settings. I cannot say that these are vague, unnecessarily vague. It's about security. And we know that when on August 31st, 2023, when hundreds of Congolese people were killed by the National Guard in Goma because they were protesting peacefully, unarmed, against the United Nations. And it's the President Tshisekedi's Republican Guard that is going to shoot them and kill them and load the bodies on trucks and carry them and dumping them. We found out because a couple months later, it was October 7th of that same year, we found out that the guns, the training from those guards were done by the IDF that had to leave the Congo to go because they were being called to the army, to the IDF because of October 7th. So it's about security, it's about defense, and we also know the story under Kabila about Pegasus, about Israeli software to spy on Congolese civil society, on the opposition party. Opposition parties. Cyber, agriculture, mining, infrastructure, real money, real, I would say, strategic alignment going in both directions. So it's important to also talk about what Israel is actually facing while all of this is happening. December 2024, Amnesty International releases a report, 296 pages report. The conclusion, again, that's not me saying that. Israel has committed and is continuing to commit genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, not a war crime, not an excessive force, genocide. And that's a specific legal finding, I would say, under the Genocide Convention, and like an international treaty, literally. Do you know what's funny? Because that was not the only international that said that. Not the only one. Because the same month, Amnesty that was Amnesty International. Human Rights Watch released its own report documenting how Israel deliberately deprived Palestinians in Gaza of water and concluded that this amount to acts of genocide, combined with Israeli official own statement, a complete shutdown of Gaza. No food, no water, untrained, no food, no water, and no electricity. That was Yuan. I forgot his name, but it was a minister, I think, defense at the time. Yuan something. Then there was also Médecins Sans Frontières, doctors on the ground, doctors without borders, if I have to say that in English. And they have witnessed what they said that it is a genocide. You have American doctors, U.S. citizen doctors that went there, and they're so like children killed with bullets in the brain, in the head, sniper bullets, so precise that was clearly targeting children. A United Nations Commission of Inquiry concluded that Israel authorities intended to kill as many Palestinians as possible and knew the methods of warfare they were using would cause mass civilian death, including children. That's one of the definitions of genocide. And that's not, again, that's not Gaetan saying that. That's the United Nations Commission of Inquiry. I could go ahead and name scholars and other organizations saying, but why am I mentioning all of this? Because this is in contradiction to what we are trying to achieve as Congolese people. So the question that I need every single person watching this right now to sit with, how does the president of a country that is actively campaigning for the world to recognize its own genocide, a country literally named the term Genocost into law, simultaneously deepen embassies, security pacts, bilaterals, mining deals with the government that its own citizens, its own citizens, its own human rights organizations say that it is committing genocide right now. And in one of the comments on that Friends of the Congo post that I mentioned earlier, people were saying that, oh, we're doing it's foreign policy, we're doing what is best for the Congo, we are neutral, we're not taking sides. I don't think this is neutrality. I actually think that neutrality would be staying out of it completely, declining to take side, focusing purely on Congolese interest without commentary either way. What we've seen in Congolese politics under Tshisekedi is not neutrality. It is a clear alignment, active, warmed, photographed, embassy moving alignment to an Palestinian occupied Palestinian territory. While we have our own territories right now under occupations. Every ceasefire violation, every airstrike, every child pulled from the rubble, all these are essentially what we're trying to stop in our own country. So You cannot ask for consistency from the world and refuse to apply the same consistency yourself. You just can't. That's a contradiction that I'm talking about, that I'm fed up of, because it's like those folks, Mama Mimie, Mama Carmen, those Congolese passionate citizen, 13 years later, they made great step forward to just see a government on the international sphere making 20 steps backward. Literally. And that's why I think it is important for us when we are on social media, when we digesting information, when we seeing folks who come to us with hashtags as a way to show international solidarity, free Congo, free Palestine, free Sudan, free Haiti, free Yemen. I really challenge you guys. I really challenge you guys to look into those organizations. I'll challenge you all to look at those organizations before you even donate your money, before you even repost the post, before you even engage with them. Do your research about who they are, about what they stand for. And that's why I'm speaking as someone, because I'm part of two organizations. And I think that when hearing the story of Mama Mimie earlier and Dr. Kayembe, and I think that we are kind of people who are so passionate, but we also have, because of the work that we've been through, we putting in, and also because of what some of us went through. We are people who have the least patience for this entire conversation. And we don't have patience for that. We lost things, we lost time, we lost energy, we lost money. I could be doing something that I love. I could be sleeping, I could be traveling. But we are organizing every single day that God creates. We are trying to educate you about what's going on in the Congo. And that's why we refuse to go quiet when we see things like that. And that's why I really want to emphasize on those who post, on those who flood social media on behalf of the so-called civil society, Congolese civil society, that will post about Israel. I don't know what that is. I think I had an issue with my laptop, but that's why I think that it is important to talk, for me to talk about those organizations or those people that won't hesitate to say free Congo right after saying free Palestine, that will literally jump on the pro-Palestinian wave and movement, because it is today or nowadays something that will give you some clicks and views. They will post about, because it's convenience at the time, about pictures of the atrocity coming from Gaza, but then turn that same lens on Kinshasa's own relationship with Israel, and suddenly go quiet, suddenly refuse to condemn. They said months ago, free Palestine. But then you hear the statement of President Tshisekedi and you won't even condemn that statement. That suddenly it's not the right time to criticize. Finally, it's not the right time to criticize the government. Suddenly, the same standard that apply to Washington, to London, to Paris doesn't apply to Kinshasa. Ask yourself why. Is it principled? Or is it convenience and proximity? Is it that criticizing your own government costs you something? Access, a seat at a table, a funding for your organization on the ground to continue to survive, a relationship with someone connected, in a way that criticizing a government 1,000 miles away never will. And that's what I loved about Congolese Action New platform. Because we are independent. We don't take money from no one, so we don't hesitate to speak. Because we must speak, if not for our dead, but those who are alive and just want a better future. For my comrades who also are advocating for justice because they want justice for their family. Because here's the thing about Genocost, as I was saying, as a moral argument, that it's that work, or that it only works if it's consistent. The entire premise of asking the world to recognize Congolese suffering is that human suffering deserves recognition, regardless of who is committing or benefiting from the crime. The second that we as Congolese people, we accept a double standards for our own government's alliance, we have considered that the exact argument that has kept our own genocide unrecognized for 30 years. Because yes, we can talk about justice as a legal mechanism. Dr. Kayembe said that there is a political reason why the transatlantic slave trade is not seen or called a genocide. It is politics. And if we can separate justice from politics, we will see justice every single time that there is injustice. We will be able to correct systems. The second that we are able to, or we are willing to compromise on certain things, on certain values, that is the time that we lose as a nation. That is the time that we can see that some suffering counts and some doesn't. Depending on, of course, the leverage that you have, depending on, of course, of who is in power, depending on who is inconvenienced by naming it. So you don't get to demand moral clarity from the world while refusing to apply it to your own president. And yes, that was a call to my fellow Congolese. So when you see all these organizations, most likely with the word Congo at the end, ask yourself. When you see that they say Free Palestine, ask yourself, were they quiet when Tshisekedi did that trip to Israel, when he hosted President Herzog in Congo last year, when he made those statements saying that he supports strongly Israel's security, while at the same time not even acknowledging the right for Palestinian folks to simply be in their own land. So I didn't come here today to tell you that Genocost isn't real. It's the realest thing in our history, I will say. And the way I always see it is that Genocost operates in a timeline, and that timeline is linear. Obviously, it's a line, but it's a continuous timeline that doesn't stay in history only. That history is yesterday, it is today, and it is tomorrow. Today, by talking to you about Genocost, it is history. So I came here to say that if we want the world to take it seriously, we have to be willing to hold our own house to the same standard. To the same standard that we are demanding for everyone else. That is not betraying your country. And God forbid, some of y'all will say that is giving Rwanda ammunition. And I'm sick of tired of that rhetoric. That is actually quite the opposite. It is making sure that nobody can ever say that our movement was selective, was political, was convenience. It is making sure that Genocost stands on one thing that actually makes any human rights claim unbreakable. It is consistency. If you think, and that's why I appreciate another topic that is very interesting, but I found it really fascinating when I was able to dive in and read about history, about how gay marriage was being able to be recognized in South Africa in 2010. Fascinating. Because Mandela went with the principle, the idea that if I believe that no person should be treated differently because of their skin color, the same principle apply whether or not you agree on that, whether or not your religion doesn't support it. But based on that mere standard that no one should be treated based on the skin color, no one should be treated differently based on the sexual orientation. And that's why the Supreme Court in South Africa was able to recognize gay marriage in 2010, well before the United States, even though that they're trying to work on repealing it at the Supreme Court. If they haven't done that already, right before something similar in France took place. Consistency. And consistency is important in that fight. And I ask sometimes my friend, my comrade, what they think about the movement, the struggle, how they were able to move lines. Dr. Kayembe said that it's only 0.5%, but that 0.5% is heavy, is still making those who are against us, against this idea, shaking. What was it? And the answer, and she says that again and again, consistency. Consistency in what one of the co-founders said, integrity. The integrity in your struggle. The integrity in what you believe in. You are going to be that man, that woman, that person that fights in a consistent way. So this has been a long session. I'm sorry about that. It's one of those moments. But this is what this show is for. Unfiltered. Open. And if today did anything to you, anything for you, do the actual work. I gave you homework right there. Look up for Nahav's public reporting or the lack of it and ask your own representatives about it. Support organizations still doing this fight independently of the states. Look up those organizations that will come to you with Free Palestine, whatever hashtag that does not even pertain to the Congo, to win you over win your money over. Research them. What have they been doing for your cause? What is the position of the Congolese government on Tigray? I can give another whole show on what's going on in Ethiopia and what's President Tshisekedi's relationship. So when somebody comes and says free Tigray, does he really believe it? And if he does, what was his response when the president had a certain relationship? When you see somebody say, an organization say, free Palestine, what is that organization response? Or what was that organization response when President Tshisekedi stood right next to the president of Israel and somehow deny Palestinian suffering? Do your research so that you are no longer fooled. Do your research so that we can truly be in solidarity and end oppression wherever it is. I even invite you, because we have receipt, go in, research what Friends of the Congo has done for that solidarity for Palestine weeks after October 7th. Friends of the Congo was among the 100 organizations that signed a petition, I would say, demanding ceasefire weeks within October 7th, after October 7th. And if I have to go way back, we were still organizing with the students in university in Palestine. Still doing that on Congo Week 2013. Still a student. I was still a student here in the US, just fresh off the boat, freshly arriving in the US. Friends of the Congo was organizing with folks in Palestine. And from 2023 onward, up until today, animated by that Pan-African flame, we believe that no nation should be oppressed because of what they have, because of how they look. No nation should thrive by suffocating other nations. And we are also animated by the fact that we have been working actively to raise global consciousness on the crisis in the Congo. And we do recognize the crisis in the Congo has 4 dimensions: the multinationals, Western nations, regional actors with nations like Rwanda, Uganda, Western nations, I'm going to name them, mostly Anglo-Saxon, the United States for being the very first country to recognize Congo Free State as a personal property of a man, King Leopold II, who never put his feet in the Congo, who created a system that killed millions and cut hands to many more. That was the United States that recognized the leadership of King Leopold II, the very first Western country among the 14 that was at the Berlin Conference. Grover Cleveland was the very first one to recognize him. Then we have the UK, you have other France, Belgium, and other European Union. We know who they are, and we know what they've done. That's history. We cannot change history. Regional actors used as proxies for the past 30 years to plunder the Congo, Rwanda, Uganda, and now Kenya that has hosted literally a movement that is openly going at war with the governments, illegitimate or not. But that's still weird to have a country host a movement that is openly going at war with the states. That's Kenya. And the fourth one, and that's why I really wanted to spend the time that I spent to talk about the contradiction, to talk about the hypocrisy, is the political elites that is as responsible to the Congolese suffering as the first three that I mentioned. So as a Congolese person, as Congolese organizations, it is our responsibility first and foremost to hold those political folks, that Congolese political class, to hold them accountable. Because the country that we want to build tomorrow, that legacy is based on the country that we're building today. And we're building this country right now based on what idea? Based on what values? Integrity was mentioned here. That's the country that we want. We want men and women that have integrity. We want honesty. We want truth. We want justice. And until we figure out that these are the values that we need to build a strong country, unfortunately, in 30 years, we'll perhaps have my son, my daughter come to you and talk to you about freeing Congo again. So this was a special, a Genocost Special, to give you the context. Yes, tomorrow is August 2nd. Yes, I encourage you to go and remember Genocost. But I also invite you or encourage you to join us in that fight, to document yourself, to educate yourself, and help us dismantle a system that has been exploiting and killing the Congo for years. Because guess what? Oppression is global. So must be our fight for justice. So happy Saturday. I will catch you next weekend, but tomorrow, for those who are going to be online, those who are going to events, whether it's in Washington, D.C., shout out to Action for Congo. Those who are going to Bellevue, those who are gathering in Sao Paulo, Brazil, those who are marching with CAYP France, shout out to Wite-Nkate in France. Those who are still in their own way honoring the dead, honoring the millions of victims in occupied Congo. Those who are going to also honoring all these cities in Congo, despite being pressured to do what the government wants, despite being threatened. We do not forget about you. And for those who are going to be online, please check us out. We are going to host a special space. We'll be hosting a special case together with Stanis Bujakera, very famous Congolese journalist, another victim of the authoritarian regime in Kinshasa. He was jailed for years, months, perhaps years, I don't remember, for simply exercising his job as a journalist. He is invited, CAYP. I'll be honored to be part of the conversation. Friends of the Congo will be honored to be part of the conversation. GENOCOST will be there. Congolese Action Youth Platform will be there, and you will be able to hear from us. The space is going to be in English, though, but we will make sure to spend the time later in a few clips to provide you with what essentially the essence of that conversation was. So until then, I will see you tomorrow for some of y'all, and stay safe. Peace.